All right, good morning, team. Thank you all for joining us today. Today we're very fortunate to have Rich Carpentieri with us. Rich is a mega agent. He's a top OP from our region. He's a senior bold coach. Probably, he's a dad. He's got a great mustache. There's a lot of great things about Rich. Have I left anything off, sir? Or
yeah, the mustache. I'm just following Gary with the mustache.
So we're going to be talking a little bit today about mindset. I also know that Rich coaches and consults a lot of the top agents in our region because he is one of our top OPs out there. So I'm sure he can give us some insight into what those top agents and teams are doing in this market to stay on top of their clients and their database and their business. So I guess we could start with that side of it, with the technical side. So I know you're the OP of several. How many market centers? Is it 3?
I'm OP of 3 and an investor in 4.
Okay. So needless to say, you interact with a lot of agents out there and you're intimately involved with a lot of their business. So what are you seeing from those people that are having either the best mindset or approach or the most amount of success in their business with everything that's going on right now and with the climate we're all dealing with? What are some of the common themes you're seeing?
I think there's a more positive approach. I mean, we are definitely in probably the second worst catastrophic event that I've seen in my life. I'm 60 years old, other than 9/11. However, it's how you perceive it, Kieran. It's the way you look at things. So for me, the way I look at this is it gives me more time to spend with my daughter's home from college. Obviously, college is released from FSU. So I get to see my daughter every day. I get to see my wife all day long instead of traveling sometimes when we're not together. So I'm looking at the positive. I get to spend more quality time with my family. I'm getting to do things around the house that I probably wouldn't have gotten to do before. I'm not spending as much gas. When you look at things, you dissect things. There's so many good things that are happening that we're just taking for granted. And all we're doing is focusing on the one thing that's really bad, right? The people that are sick and they're ill. And what I explain to people is that, back on 9/11 was probably the worst catastrophic day that I've ever seen in my lifetime. And I don't think about 9/11 as much as I do 9/12. Because on 9/12, what I witnessed was a country come together. On 9/12, there weren't Republicans and Democrats. It wasn't about race, creed, color, or religion. It was all about being one, Americans. And what I really love to see is it all being about not Keller Williams or Remax of Century 21. I'd love to see our industry come together right now and just be an industry. In other words, realtors. We're here to serve the public. And there's a lot of people out there that need our help right now. Their leases expired, they're moving out, they can't afford their rent, they need to relocate. Some industries are laying off and furloughing, and other industries are hiring hundreds of thousands of people. Amazon, Public, all these companies are hiring like a ton of people. So people have job changes, they need to move. They need our help. And if we insist upon not willing to help them, it doesn't mean we have to go out. We can do everything digitally where we don't even have to put ourselves in jeopardy. We just have to have the right mindset though. And I think that's so important.
So talking about mindset, I know you're a bold coach and you're also coaching and consulting with a lot of the top agents in your market centers, I'm sure. What are the conversations you're having around mindset with those folks, or what are you learning from them? Because I know as we've done these calls every day and as we've had other conversations with the agents in our market center, I'm just so blown away by how resilient a lot of these agents are and how they're being so intentional about staying positive and keeping in the right frame of mind. So what are you learning from your agents? What are the things that they're doing? What are the strategies they're putting in place?
Yeah, well, I think I'm just going to repeat what I've heard, because every day at 12, I do the same thing I've done for the last 5 weeks, a Zoom call, and I just get top people from around the country on the call. And some of the things I've heard is first from James Shaw is today's mind share leads to tomorrow's market share. So if you're on there, in other words, making the care calls, and the care call, Karen, has to be genuine and real. It's got to be transparent. It can't be, so how you doing today, Karen? So by the way, who do you know that's looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate?
Right.
A care call's got to be, so Karen, tell me, how are you today? How are your agents doing? right? And you got to stay focused on the topic. And really, is there anything you need? Do you know anybody, maybe senior citizens in the area that need food or toilet paper or medicine or something like that to help out in any way, shape, or form? So I think that, and the funny thing about it is, the more we care about people and we pour into people, the more they're going to come back and ask us, so Karen, tell me, how is the real estate market doing? You don't even have to bring it up. Yeah. The intent of the call is to truly see how people are doing and let the conversation flow wherever it goes, right? And the other thing, the other one that stood out in my mind is Tony Zargami on our call probably about 3 or 4 weeks ago. Tony said something that was brilliant. She said, you know, in Shift, in chapter 12, it says bulletproof the transaction. She says her team motto is to bulletproof the relationship.
Awesome. Yeah, and we're going to be talking to Tony on Friday. I'm looking forward to that. She's amazing.
Ask her about that. Let her drill down on that. That was amazing.
Okay, awesome. And then Jamie, I know you have some questions and some things you want to talk to Rich about too. So anytime you want to jump in, please do that. Looks like she's off camera for a second. So I did want to ask you if you could give us just a quick couple minutes. Sure. We're going to be talking to Dustin Oglesby next week, who is going to be our Bold coach before Pivot happened, right? So he's going to be on one of our calls next week, telling us a little bit about Pivot and everything that's come up with that. But could you give us, maybe in your opinion, right? What are some of the top reasons that people should be engaging in a system like Bold Pivot, which is coming up at the beginning of May, and what they can expect to get out of that?
Sure. First and foremost, Karen, is mindset. I think that's the most important thing, because there's too many of us sitting in front, like I said, in front of Fox or CNN, whatever your news channel of choice is. And there's nothing, the only thing that spreads faster than the virus itself is fear, right? So, and that's what the news does. They sensationalize to spread fear, so you keep coming back. And that in itself is a pandemic. Getting the right mindset, Dick Dillingham, I follow him all the time on Facebook, and he has the positive thought of the day, not the negative thought of the day, positive thought of the day. And just last week he posted, become the person that other people want to hang out with, right? So who are we living up to our potential? Nobody wants to hang out with a negative Nelly, right? Or Debbie Downer or David Downer. They want to hang out with positive people. So we need to live up to our potential. We need to be positive. Bold Pivot's going to help you stay in a positive mindset. We're coaches. We're trained for years on listening to the words that people say. Words matter. And most of the time when a person's being negative, Karen, they don't even know it. They have no idea, because they're being their natural selves. So when we ask questions, and we don't call them out. We just ask questions, right? And those questions, when we ask, the power behind the questions, it opens up the mind to new possibilities. See, when you lecture, people have closed mindsets, just listening to a person. Yet when we do the opposite and ask the question and let the person self-discover, it opens up the mind. And that's what Bold Pivot's going to do. So mindset is first and foremost. Secondly, it's going to address the market of the moment. So the market of the moment is, we just rewrote Bold 2.0. They spent a ton of time on that. People love it. And yet we put it on the back shelf. Here's why. It may not be applicable to the coronavirus. So we had to go back to doing a new Bold Pivot, writing the content for what's applicable in this market. So I'm guessing there's going to be a lot of digital stuff. I haven't seen it because they've been writing it for the last 3 or 4 weeks. It still isn't done yet. It's still in production. But they will be addressing the 4 main topics that Gary wants to be addressed, which is wake up and pay attention, right? We're in a pivot. 2 is learn to live on less. Agents need to cut expenses the same way market centers do. So that you and Jamie have been working tirelessly, spending countless times or hours looking at your P&L one line at a time. It's tedious work. And yet there's so many areas where you can find the places to cut. The agents are the same way. They think they're above that. No, they're not. They need to cut expenses. And Gary's challenge to us as Bold coaches was we need to be cutting expenses. Hold on to yourself every month until the end of the year. So every market center and every agent needs to cut expenses every once a month until December, he's saying. So that's a big one. The third thing he wants us to talk about is double down on leads. So we know that the people who are looky-loos or tire kickers, they're probably on the sidelines and they're not active anymore for fear of safety. Right. And that's a good thing. However, there are people that are very motivated. They've got urgency. Those people, the people today that say, Jamie or Karen, I need to see some houses. Those people are writing contracts today. They're not waiting. Those people are serious. There's a high amount of urgency. So when you have somebody asking to see some houses, whether it's digitally or in person, I guarantee you that person's writing a contract today or tomorrow. So we need more leads, right? So whatever the agent's goals are, they may need more leads now because there's less of them available. They're better quality. There's not as many quantity. And the fourth topic is lean into the market of the moment. So we just have to understand, every day I ask the same question on my Zoom calls at noon. And I just, in real fast, just ask your audience, how many people were licensed real estate agents actively working in the last shift in 2008? And I guarantee you the answer is less than 20%. It's going to be less than 20%. So people don't understand what we're up against because they've never seen it before. Right? And Gary, these are messages right from Gary Keller to us as bold coaches. He says we need to prepare for the worst and strive for the best. So that's what we need to do.
And I think he added on a call last week, because he said that he's been saying that a lot. He added at the end and act in a way that won't let the worst happen. So cut your expenses, double down on your lead generation. And what is really encouraging about that is I think you're right, and it's probably true across the board. 20% of market centers, if you looked at them, 20% of the agents were probably in the business in the last shift. The good news is the top agents in our market center, also probably thrived during that shift because they did all the things that you're prescribing and Gary's prescribing and we're talking about, and they built their businesses because of the opportunity it afforded them. So agents that have that same level of commitment now have that opportunity.
Yeah, if you look at all those agents who were in business in 2008, I guarantee you today, those are all your mega teams, your mega agents, your mega whatever. These are the people that are doing anywhere from $5 to $200 million a year in business. Now, back in 2008, they weren't that size. They learned survival mode and then learned how to thrive. And they went from mind share to market share. Right? So they got to stay active. At the very least, agents' best practices are make your care calls, build your pipeline up. Instead of turning your database over every 90 days, in other words, 4 calls a year, you need to go through your entire database in the next 30 days. In 30 days. Yeah.
So Jamie was having some issues with her mic, but I think she's with us now. You there?
Yes, I'm here.
All right, awesome. Jump on in.
Hey, Rich.
How are you, Jamie?
I'm good. For those of you that don't know, I worked with Rich. He was the first one, him and Lori, that I worked with when I came into KW. So I'm very grateful for you. And one of the things that I love about you, probably my top thing that I love about you, is your energy. And I call him Tigger, and it's, a joke, but it's true. Like, he'd walk into the office and he was the TL that was, oh, well, Rich did it this way, because people love him. They just love you. How do you stay motivated, keep your energy levels up? Let's talk about that. Like, what
Sure. So
how do you keep that energy level up?
Yeah, I think it's just, I stay positive. I only, no matter what hand is dealt to me, there's positivity in everything, right? And I'll give you an example. In 2004, my dad passed away. It was a brutal case. He was dealing with thyroid cancer, lymph node and thyroid cancer. And it was really bad the last 9 months. And I didn't look at it as, I didn't go and mourn his death. I celebrated his life. It's just a different way to think about things. So when you can do that and don't fall into the trap of worst case scenario and always focus on the negative on a situation, my thing is, okay, so we're dealt a hand, whether it's good or not, Jamie, what are the positives? And if I have to take a pad and pen and the negatives may be there, I just don't focus on them. I focus on the positives, and I'll make a list, and I say, okay, so this is what I'm going to talk about. This is what I'm going to think about. This is what I'm going to spend my time losing sleep over. When I wake up, this is what I want to think about and talk about. So I just dwell on the positive side of the equation, and I don't go to the negative side.
And it's contagious. And I know that you agree, energy is contagious, whether it's negative or positive.
That's right.
So I appreciate that. And the other thing I want to talk with you about, because you're a master at recruiting and building profit share and all that, and very few people are talking about that. And of course, I'm passionate about that as well. Why don't you share with a little bit about the agents, how you feel about that right now, if there's a certain thing they could be doing and, to grow their profit share?
Sure. I think right now, what I'm advising my team leaders is to just build relationships. Mm-hmm. Take off your recruiting hat and put on your relationship hat. There's so many agents, the more I speak with, when an agent from another brokerage calls me as a broker, and there's a complaint on one of my agents, after I get past the complaint and help them solve whatever their issue is, I focus on a plan. I talk to them about, so what are you doing to get through this pandemic? Or what are we doing to get through this journey or opportunity? And they said, well, what do you mean? I said, well, what is your environment doing to support you in growing and educating, teaching you new skill sets? And we know what the answer is. It's nothing. And I'm not there to mock their brokerage or environment. What I am doing is inviting them in to all of our training and education. And they will self-discover over time. Because right now, the last thing a person wants to deal with is they have, in their mind, if they're coming from a brokerage which doesn't have the training and coaching that like a Keller Williams might have, they're stressed beyond all recognition. The last thing they want to happen is be recruited. However, when you come from contribution and you offer things for free with no obligation or no strings attached, Jamie, people are eternally grateful, and all of a sudden they say, why am I working here? So my guess is in 3 to 6 months' time, you're going to see one of the biggest massive exoduses of agents leaving brokerages. And that could even possibly mean our own in Keller Williams if our leadership is not handling our agents properly and giving them the time and care that they desire and deserve. We need to really dig in and pay attention to our agents. How are you doing? What can I do to help you? Do you have enough food? Are you struggling financially? Basics, toilet paper. I moved to Claremont right outside of Orlando now, and that seems to be a commodity. I mean, there's not much around. So little things like that.
Yeah, and I know the agents that are on our Zooms, we have agents from all over that jump on the Zooms every morning, and
Sure.
They're so grateful for that. So just encouraging the agents to let the people that they know that we're here for them. So that's an awesome answer. Thank you for that. And then the other question I have is, what's the greatest lesson that you have ever learned? And what are you reading right now?
Okay, so what is the greatest lesson that I've ever learned? Humility, and no one ever succeeds alone. When I first came into Keller Williams, I owned several businesses that were non-real estate related. Advertising, marketing, all different types of stuff. And I was just a one-man army thinking, I can do this. I can do anything. I can put it on my shoulders and I'll do it. So I had that same type of mentality when I came to Keller Williams in 2008. I used to have my own brokerage and merged it in 2008. And I learned the hard way that, you know what, you can only get so far by yourself. The moment that I understood the concept of leverage through people and systems and money or capital, oh my God, did my world open up to me. And that was the beginning when I put my faith in other people, and I switched from managerial type style to leadership style. All of a sudden, my mindset shifted from success to success being it's all about me. What are my numbers, right? How many houses did I sell? How much money did I make? How many agents did I recruit? And all of a sudden, it went from success to significance, which is basically, so how can I help you and serve you, Jamie? And that was the main lesson that I've learned. So what books am I reading now? Right this very moment. So here we go. It's under my desk. I'm reading it for the 5th time. I just tear it apart. I highlight it. I'm just, this and the one thing, the one thing I'm on the third time, I'm on the fifth time for Shift. So they're great books. And right now, more than ever, they are very, very pertinent and very significant, because there's the little golden nuggets in there that I might not have caught the 2, 3, 4 times I've read it before, and just keep going back. And every time I read the book, I highlight it in a different color. So I have different colors in the book. And just taking that, because I think that we really, in a down market or a shifting or a pivoting market, we really, 2 things need to happen. One, we need to be super hyper-focused, purposeful. We need to be purposeful about what we want out of life. We can't let some virus or pandemic or the economy dictate how much money we make. I don't believe in that. I just don't. What dictates how much money we make or what kind of life we live is based upon the actions and activities that we do. It has nothing to do with the economy. Other people fall prey to that. Oh my God, listen to the president or listen to CNN, and they're saying the economy is off, the unemployment's going to hit 20%. I'm not unemployed. No. People still need to buy and sell. Interest rates are at 3%. When I got in real estate in 2004, interest rates were 6.5%, 6.75%. All I see is the opportunity. Yeah. I'm not focused on the other thing. So I think that being super purposeful is like the one thing we really, and that's the one thing. And the second thing is from Shift is being skilled. What new skill set will we learn today, right now, that long after this virus is gone in a couple of months will stick with me, that's going to help grow my business? So I need to be grateful that maybe as far as business goes, not health, as far as business goes, where was I being complacent that I was like, well, no, this works. I've been doing it for such a long time. Let me just stick with it. And that's where complacency is, right? So we get complacent in our business. And now I think we're forced to learn a new skill set, and not by choice, because we just have to right now. And I think that's a good thing. I think it's a great thing. We need to learn new skill sets. So be purposeful. And what new skill set will you learn today?
That's awesome. That's awesome. Kieran, I know we want to open it up to see if any agents have any questions.
Yeah, just unmute yourselves. I know a lot of you guys have been in Rich's Bowls before or have met him at regional events. So we've got about 5 minutes. If you guys want to jump in and ask some questions, please do so.
First of all, is everybody doing okay, guys, in Sarasota? Is the agents? Mm-hmm. Does anybody need anything?
Rich, I just want to thank you. You and I go back to 2008. So I just want to thank you for being on this call. And I agree with Jamie. I don't know anyone who could ever spend time with you and not feel uplifted, inspired, and like the Energizer Bunny, just keep going.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Rich's energy is more contagious than the coronavirus.
You betcha, baby. I think that's my new bumper sticker. So
Thank you. So what can I do to help you guys? Look, you could feel free to ask anything. I'm here to help. Whatever I can do as a servant leader, as Joanne, Greg, Kieran, Jamie, all of us are, we're here to serve you as agents. So how can we serve you best? What questions might you have?
Coach Rich, it's Ann Edwards out of Bradenton. How are you?
Very good. How are you?
I'm so well. One thing that's in my heart, I think, is talking to the agents in this group. And I'm so glad that you talked about how you're helping people. We can tell sometimes where a fade has come to somebody's smile, or maybe they're not being accountable, to what their potential could be. And so is there anything that you do in your practice to give them tough love, or something that maybe you can share that helps connect them kind of snap out of it?
Sure. So first of all, I love your backdrop. That's so appropriate at this time. So thank you. I will tell you that I am more sensitive now in these times than before. I could be a tough love coach. I've been known to do that, especially with my own leadership group. So I would ask if somebody's, if an agent or a family member or a customer, it depends on the relationship, how deep my relationship is. If I'm comfortable with the relationship and I heard somebody going off on the deep end, I'd hear them out. I'd let them vent. Sometimes they just need to get it off their chest. And then I'd ask a question. And the question may sound, okay, so I could certainly understand how you feel. And if you were in a positive state of mind, what would that sound like? And basically, that person's going to take a step back and they're going to say, oh, was that negative? And I'm just being honest, when a person's being negative, they don't know they're being negative, right? Because it's just normal behavior. Behavior is a pattern, good or bad, and there's no judgment, no right or wrong here. So I would just ask the question. I'd let them vent. And I'd make sure that I have a deep enough relationship. I would not say that to a customer if I'm just meeting them for the first time. That would not be appropriate. So I want to make sure that I'm clear. So tough love, my head coach, I have two MAPS coaches. Steve Schlater is my head bold coach. His famous term, and I love it, I'm going to steal it, is sometimes we need to love our family and friends and our agents with a 2x4. It means tough love. Right? We've got to love people with a 2x4. So absolutely, I think that we need to express it. It doesn't mean that we get on their case and lecture. It means that we ask purposeful questions.
Hey, Gary Turner, you're unmuted. Do you have a question?
Yes. Rich, you mentioned earlier about doubling down on leads. I think everybody's pretty much in agreement that we need to be doubling down. Do you mind expanding upon that and tell us what your take is on doubling down on leads?
Sure. So I think that I believe you need to, like I said, typically we would teach in bold that you need to turn, if you know the DTD2, so you're turning over your database every 90 days, every 3 months. That means every single person is going to get at least 4 phone calls a year, whether they answer the phone or not. From my experience, only about 30 to 40%, roughly 35% of the people answer their phone calls. So that means roughly you're going to speak to them once and 3 times you're going to leave voicemail or text. I think that I believe that you need to turn over your database no matter how big every 30 days now in times of need. So just having the conversation with people. So instead of having a conversation, calling them 4 times a year, right now I think we need to call them every 30 days to check in on them. And what I will tell you, I've been instructing my team leaders to tell their agents, you don't even have to ask now, who do you know that's looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate? Just truly say, how are you doing? Is there anything I can do to serve you? I want to be your local resource to help you. Do you need any type of work done on your house? Are you in any need of anything, any commodities? How can I help? And I promise you, this is going to lead to mind share, and the mind share is going to lead to, so how is the real estate market? Because the perception of the general public is that the market is tanking. And here's what we know. That's the furthest thing from the truth. Right. Every day I open up MLS, I see new listings, new pendings, new closes, right? We still have multiple offers up here in Claremont, Spring Hill, Citrus. There's still multiple offers on houses. Houses are still selling over the asking price when they're priced appropriately. So, we have not felt the effects of the virus in real estate yet. We have felt there's probably less leads available, which means the results we're going to see we won't see the difference in results for 60 to 90 days, which means you're looking June, July, August. Right now, the results are still there. So I would just say, when I say double down, I mean turn your database over. I don't care how big it is in the next 30 days. You contact every single person. I mean, after all, what are we going to do? We're at home. It's either that or watch Netflix, right? I'd rather speak to the people that matter most to me.
Awesome. Well, I think that's a great point to finish on. I know we asked you to be with us till 9, and I want to be respectful of your time. Thank you so much for joining us today. I know I got a ton of information out of this call, like I always do when I talk to you, and I'm sure everybody else in the call did as well. So I know Jamie was excited to have you on this morning as well, and she thinks you're amazing. So good luck up in Orlando. I love what you're doing for your agents. Thank you so much for participating in our call this morning, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you, guys. And if there's anything we could do here in Orlando for our brothers and sisters in Sarasota, we're here to help.
You're awesome, Rich.
Thanks, Rich.
Back at you.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.